The old Victorian house stood on a hill overlooking the town, a looming silhouette against the storm-tossed sky. Wind howled through the ancient oaks, their branches clawing at the house like skeletal fingers. Rain lashed against the windows, a relentless drumming that echoed the secrets hidden within its walls. For years the house had stood vacant, a testament to forgotten tragedies and whispered rumors. Locals spoke of strange occurrences, unexplained noises, and a chilling presence that lingered long after dark. But the most unsettling detail, the one that sent shivers down the spines of those brave enough to speak of it, was the shadow in the window. A fleeting glimpse, a dark figure moving against the faint moonlight, visible only on the stormiest nights. Some dismissed it as mere imagination, fueled by the house's sinister reputation. Others, however, believed it was something more, a restless spirit tethered to the house, unable to find peace. Tonight, as the storm raged and shadows danced, the old house seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the unsuspecting souls who dared to cross its threshold. For within its walls, a chilling mystery was about to unfold, a tale of love, loss, and the darkness that can consume even the most unsuspecting hearts. Emily and Jake, a young couple on the cusp of their dreams, arrived at the house with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The house, despite its eerie reputation, held a certain allure, a promise of a fresh start. They had purchased it for a song, unaware of the price they might ultimately pay. As they stepped inside, the musty scent of decay and the weight of the house's history settled upon them. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the grime-coated windows, casting long shadows.
Despite the chill in the air, I shivered, a prickle of unease dancing down my spine.
Jake, ever the pragmatist, dismissed her concerns, attributing them to the house's long abandonment.
We have work to do, walls to paint, floors to refinish, a lifetime of memories to create.
And so, with a mix of enthusiasm and nervous energy, they began unpacking boxes, their laughter echoing through the silent rooms. As the days turned into weeks, they chipped away at the layers of neglect, revealing the house's former grandeur. Intricate moldings, once hidden beneath layers of paint, emerged like forgotten secrets. Gleaming hardwood floors, polished to a warm luster, whispered of elegant soirees and whispered conversations. During their renovation, they found a locked room. At the end of a narrow hallway, it stood out. The heavy oak door was slightly ajar. Curiosity and apprehension filled them. The air was thick with dust and something else. Emily gripped Jake's hand tightly.
"What do you think is in there?"
she whispered, heart pounding.
Probably just old furniture. We'll clear it out tomorrow.
A sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut. Emily gasped, the sound reverberating. That night, the events replayed in her mind. The locked room, the gust of wind. She felt the house held secrets. Sleep, when it finally came, was filled with unsettling dreams. Emily tossed and turned, haunted by shadowy figures and whispered conversations. A sound jolted her awake. Footsteps, slow, deliberate footsteps. She held her breath, listening intently. The footsteps came closer, followed by a soft scratching sound. Terror gripped her heart. She reached out for Jake, but he was sound asleep. Cautiously, she slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the door. Peering through the crack, she saw nothing but darkness. The hallway was empty. As she turned to go back to bed, her gaze fell on the window, and that's when she saw it. A shadow, darker than the night itself, moving slowly across the window. It was tall and slender, its edges blurring in and out of focus. Emily stared, her breath catching in her throat. Then it vanished, leaving behind a chill and a certainty they were not alone.
Emily lay awake, her mind racing with fear. She had seen something dark and malevolent in the shadows. Beside her, Jake slept soundly, oblivious to the unease. She longed to wake him but hesitated. The house seemed to come alive around her. Each sound sent a jolt of fear through her. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The following morning, desperate for a semblance of normalcy, Emily threw herself into their renovation project. She scrubbed floors, dusted cobwebs, and unpacked boxes, her movements fueled by a nervous energy that bordered on frantic. Jake, sensing her distress, tried to engage her in conversation, but she found it difficult to focus, her mind constantly drawn back to the events of the previous night. Later that afternoon, seeking a brief respite from the oppressive atmosphere inside the house, Emily stepped out into the garden. The sun, a welcome change from the gloom within, warmed her face, and for a moment she allowed herself to believe that perhaps the previous night had been nothing more than a bad dream. Her moment of peace was shattered by the sound of a creaking gate and a voice calling her name. It was Mrs. Calloway, their elderly neighbor, her wrinkled face framed by a cloud of white hair. She shuffled towards Emily, her eyes filled with a mixture of concern and something else, something akin to pity.
You look tired, dear. That house can take a lot out of you.
It's a lot of work, but we're making progress.
Just be careful, dear. Some doors are best left closed, some secrets best left buried.
Mrs. Calloway's words echoed in Emily's mind long after the old woman had retreated back to her own home. Some doors are best left closed. What did she mean by that? Was she referring to the locked room? Was there something dangerous hidden within its walls, something that could harm them? Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Mrs. Calloway knew more than she was letting on. The way she had looked at the house, the pity in her eyes, the cryptic warning she had issued. It was as if she knew the darkness that lurked within, the secrets that whispered between the floorboards. Driven by a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity, Emily found herself drawn back to the locked room. She stood outside the door, her hand hovering over the tarnished brass knob. The air around her seemed to crackle with an unseen energy, a palpable sense of foreboding that sent shivers down her spine. She knew she should turn back, leave the room undisturbed, pretend she had never seen the shadow in the window. But something, perhaps the same force that drew sailors to sirens and moths to flames, compelled her forward. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open, the hinges groaning in protest as if warning her to turn back while she still could.
The room was shrouded in darkness, the air thick with dust and the musty scent of decay. As Emily's eyes adjusted to the gloom, she realized that the room was sparsely furnished, its only occupants a few pieces of heavy antique furniture draped in white sheets. The only source of light came from the single window, its glass clouded with grime, casting long shadows that danced and twisted in the stillness.
The rocking chair, its cushions faded and torn, were covered in a thick layer of dust, yet the chair itself swayed gently, as if recently occupied.
Emily stared at it, her breath catching in her throat, her mind struggling to reconcile the impossible sight before her. She had checked this room earlier, she was sure of it. The door had been locked, the room undisturbed for years, perhaps decades, and yet here was evidence that someone or something had been here recently. Someone or something had been sitting in that chair, rocking gently, waiting. A cold dread washed over her, chilling her to the bone. She wanted to turn and flee, to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the room, but her feet felt rooted to the spot, her gaze drawn to the rocking chair as if by an unseen force. It was then that she noticed the handprints. On the dusty window, barely visible, were small, delicate handprints. But there were no children in the house, only Emily and Jake. These handprints were on the inside of the window. Emily felt dizzy, her legs buckling.
Oh my God.
She stumbled back, stifling a scream. She had to escape the suffocating darkness. Her gaze fell on a small, silver-framed portrait. It was hidden beneath old newspapers. She picked it up, revealing the image beneath.
Who is this man?
It was a portrait of a man, his features detailed. He had piercing blue eyes and a brooding expression. Something about his face sent a shiver down Emily's spine. She felt an overwhelming sense of familiarity. Who was this man, and what was his connection to the house? Emily clutched the portrait, her heart pounding. The man's eyes seemed to bore into her, filled with sorrow and warning. Who was this man, and why did his presence feel both familiar and unsettling? I have to find out the truth. Emily placed the portrait on a table, its silver frame glinting in the dim light. Her gaze swept across the room, searching for any clue. It was then that she noticed the rocking chair. It was no longer swaying gently. It was now still, eerily still. A cold shiver ran down her spine.
I can't let fear stop me now.
Emily approached the rocking chair. She ran her hand over its smooth, worn surface. As she leaned closer, she noticed something etched into the underside. It was a name, carved into the wood. Henry. Section 2, The Attic's Secrets.
Jake, we need to check the attic.
The attic, why?
I found something.
Section 3, The Disappearance of Henry Whitman. In a far corner, they discovered an old wooden trunk. Inside, they found old photographs and a small leather-bound diary. The diary belonged to Henry Whitman, the man in the portrait. Section 4, A Brother's Betrayal. Henry's diary entries painted a vivid picture of his life. He wrote of his growing suspicion that Clara was having an affair with his brother William. As darkness fell, Emily and Jake sat huddled together.
We've uncovered a tragic tale of love, betrayal, and possibly even murder.
Did his brother, in a fit of jealous rage, take his life?
There, silhouetted against the faint moonlight, stood a figure.
The Shadow's message resonated deeply within Emily.
We need to find his remains, Jake.
Days turned into weeks, our initial enthusiasm waning.
The air grew heavy with the weight of their search. Frustrated but not defeated, Emily and Jake expanded their search.
We scoured obituaries, searching for any mention of a body.
Their efforts proved fruitless.
The librarian recalled a story about a hidden cemetery.
Armed with this knowledge, Emily and Jake set out to find the hidden cemetery.
A small clearing, bathed in an ethereal light.
A sense of peace settled over Emily.
They found a simple, moss-covered headstone, Henry Whitman.
As Emily and Jake stood over Henry's grave, Emily noticed a tarnished silver locket.
It was the same locket that she had seen in the photograph.
In that moment, Emily understood.
As they placed flowers on Henry's grave, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves.
The discovery of Henry's final resting place brought a mix of sorrow and relief.
Driven by an insatiable need for answers, Emily and Jake returned to the attic.
Henry's diary entries ended abruptly on the day of his disappearance.
Could this be the motive behind Henry's disappearance?
Following their instincts, Emily and Jake focused their search on the attic.
The discovery sent shockwaves through the small town. Police confirmed our worst fears. Henry Whitman had been murdered. The cause of death, blunt force trauma to the head.
The The discovery of Henry's remains led the police to William.
William confessed to killing his brother in a fit of rage.
The trial was swift, the evidence overwhelming. With William behind bars, Emily and Jake were finally able to move forward with their lives.
I couldn't shake the feeling that Henry's spirit was finally at peace. The shadow in the window, once a symbol of fear and uncertainty, now felt like a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, truth has a way of revealing itself. The house, I realized, was no longer a place of sorrow, but a testament to the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bonds of family.
Emily and Jake eventually found a new home, a cozy cottage bathed in sunlight, far from the shadows of the past. They filled their lives with laughter, love, and the simple joys of everyday life. Yet, the memory of Henry Whitman stayed with them, a constant reminder of the importance of cherishing loved ones and the fragility of life. As the years passed, Emily and Jake often found themselves thinking back to the old Victorian house and the secrets it held. They wondered about Clara, her life after Henry's disappearance, the pain she must have endured. They hoped that she, like Henry, had found peace and happiness in the end.
And sometimes, late at night when the wind whispered through the trees and the moon cast long shadows across our bedroom wall, we thought we could hear the faint creaking of a rocking chair, a gentle sway that seemed to say, "I am at peace now. Thank you for listening to my story."
News of the discovery at the old Victorian house spread through the quiet town like wildfire. Whispers turned to hushed conversations, the chilling tale of Henry Whitman's fate becoming a morbid fascination for the townsfolk. The media descended upon the quiet community, eager to chronicle every detail of the long-dormant case that had been resurrected from beneath the floorboards.
The weight of evidence against William was overwhelming. Henry's diary entries, corroborated by witness testimonies from those who remembered the brothers and their strained relationship, painted a damning picture of jealousy, greed, and, ultimately, murderous intent.
During the trial, William, his face etched with years of guilt and regret, sat silently in the defendant's chair, his gaze fixed on the floor as if unable to face the weight of his actions. The courtroom, filled to capacity with curious onlookers and members of the press, felt heavy with the weight of unspoken truths and the ghosts of the past. And then, in a moment that silenced the room, William confessed.
His voice, raspy with disuse and choked with emotion, broke the tense silence as he recounted the events of that fateful night. He spoke of his blinding rage, his misplaced jealousy, and the horrifying moment he struck his brother down, the sound of the candlestick connecting with Henry's skull echoing in his ears for years to come.
The courtroom listened, captivated and horrified, as William's confession washed over them. He spoke of his attempts to conceal his crime, the panic that had seized him as he desperately tried to erase any trace of his involvement in his brother's disappearance. He described the years of guilt and insomnia that followed, the nightmares that plagued his sleep, the constant fear of discovery gnawing at his sanity.
He confessed that the shadow in the window, the one that had haunted the old house for decades, was his doing, a desperate attempt to draw attention to his crime, to seek a form of atonement he knew he didn't deserve.
With his confession, a sense of release seemed to wash over William. The weight of his secret, carried for so long, lifted slightly, replaced by a profound sorrow for the life he had taken and the pain he had inflicted on those around him. The court, taking into consideration his confession and remorse, sentenced William to a lengthy prison term. Justice, though delayed, had been served.
But for Emily and Jake, the true victory lay in knowing that Henry Whitman, his story finally told, could finally rest in peace.
Life, as it often does, moved on. The media frenzy surrounding the trial eventually faded, the whispers died down, and the old Victorian house on the hill was once again shrouded in an unsettling silence. Emily and Jake, forever marked by their time in the house, decided to start anew. They sold the property, the memories of their time there a mix of darkness and light.
We found solace in knowing that we had played a part in bringing closure to a decades-old mystery, in giving Henry Whitman a voice after years of silence.
Their new home, a cozy cottage filled with sunlight and the scent of freshly baked bread, held no trace of the shadows that had clung to the Victorian house. Yet the memory of Henry Whitman, his tragic fate, and the love that had transcended death, remained with them.
We kept a few mementos from the old house. A framed photograph of Henry and Clara, their smiles frozen in time, a faded copy of Henry's diary, its pages filled with his hopes and dreams, and a small silver candlestick, a reminder of the darkness that can reside within the human heart, but also the power of truth to set us free.
Years later, Emily and Jake, their hair streaked with silver, their lives filled with the love of family and the comfort of close friends, would still find themselves drawn back to the small town where it all began. They would visit Henry's grave, leaving a single white rose as a silent tribute to a life cut short.
And sometimes, as we stood there, listening to the wind whisper through the trees, we imagined we could hear the faint strains of music, the soft creak of a rocking chair, the echo of laughter long silenced.
We'd come to realize that some stories never truly end, that the past, though buried, has a way of resurfacing, its echoes reaching out to touch the present.
And in the quiet moments, when the world around them faded away, they found a strange sense of peace in knowing that they had played a part in righting a wrong, in ensuring that Henry Whitman's story and his enduring love for Clara would never be forgotten.